Hey, this is Monique. One more project. Well, just one more. We can stop anytime after, just one more. Anyway, this time I used the Cricut. I have a Cricut maker, and I used it to make place cards and a few other little decorations for a bridal luncheon that I got to help host. And it was a lot easier to use than word processing. You can do this kind of thing with word processing, but you have trouble sometimes getting the formatting to let you put the picture and the words on top of each other and stay in the place when you want, especially when you're making a bunch of them and you want them to all come out the same. So the design space was definitely an advantage for that. And then when it was time to cut them out, instead of having to free cut them by hand or even with a little bit of a slide cutter or something where they're almost the same, the machine cut them, the Cricut machine cut them, so they're all exactly the same. So I thought these were great advantages to be able to make these name cards with the Cricut and the design space instead of making them with word processing and cutting them by hand. Follow along and I'll show you how to make them. And I'll show you a picture of a few of the things we did just to make the bridal luncheon pretty.
So we'd start a new project. There's two ways to get there, from the middle of the screen there or the top right corner. Either one you pick is going to take you to the same blank canvas. And then I had some pictures that I had downloaded, some files that I want to use. I don't know where I got them, maybe somewhere like creativefabric.com or thehungryjpeg.com. I don't know. I'm always getting free stuff and downloading it. Anyway, so I clicked on that and then I picked the one that I want to open. And then it has a lot of details, so I'm going to pick complex. I don't know how much I would lose to pick simple, but I didn't want to lose any of my detail. I don't have any advanced options needed, so I'm going to continue. And this is important, that it's going to be print, then cut image, as opposed to cut image. So now I can choose that and import it into my canvas. So there it is, only it's gigantic. There are two ways to make it smaller. One is up there in the size button. And that worked for this one because I couldn't get to the far right corner. The bottom corner, you can change size. So once I changed it up there, though, you can see here, you can drag in and out and change the size of your image. And there's a graph with numbers on it on your canvas. So that is very helpful to me to decide how big I'm going to need it. Now, in order to make it in a card, I picked this square. Now, look, each of the four corners has options for what it does. And we're going to unlock, because I want it to be rectangle when I'm done. So unlocking it allows you to change it without having it to stay at the same ratio, so that I can make it a rectangle instead of a square. So about 2 by 3 is going to be the size we want these to be. And we want it to be a print, then cut. Because of that, I'm going to change it to white. Otherwise, it would print it all black. And that would not be the look we were going for this particular item. Drag the flowers over there. So once I try to make them the right size, I can't do it because I can't see them, right? So you can go to the top and arrange to move things forward, to move things back, to change where they are in the layers. So this time I moved the rectangle back so that the flowers were on top. Now, that's going to make a whole lot more sense than having white on top. This is what I really like, though, about using the Cricut instead of trying to use word processing, is that when I type in the name, I can choose all my fonts, which is the same. But here I can change the size of how close together they are, how far apart they are, how big they are. This is Olivia. That's the name of this font. I have 2 Olivia fonts, and one's like Olivia Baby or something. So see there how I can just change the size of it. I don't have to go in and pick, do I want it to be how many points? Do I want it to be 72? Do I want it to be 24? Because those numbers really don't mean a lot to me. They're kind of confusing. This way I can see how big my text is in inches. That's how it's going to work for me. And then when I put it on top of the card, I can move it anyway. When you try to arrange your text and your picture in Word, formatting, I just say, sometimes formatting can be so frustrating. So here you don't have formatting as an issue. Now select all and flatten down there in the right corner. That is important to do when you're printing and cutting like this, because that's what lets your computer know that this is all glued together. There are some things about the way it does it that sometimes are confusing until you play with it. But when you're trying to make this card that's going to be printed on your printer and then cut on your Cricut, you want to flatten. Here's what I was talking about, though. See, you can change the size, how close together, how far apart they are. You can spread it and make them stretch, or you can go to the top and pick letter space and stretch them out. On this particular font, this Olivia, 0 is perfect. It makes it a nice handwriting that's connected, but sometimes you need to move them closer and further apart, so that's always handy. But anyway, we don't need the extra word Courtney for this particular thing. Now, print then cut is our option there, and we're going to make it. This is showing you where you're going with it. This is not really what happens next because it has to be printed next, but this is what we're going for, the page on our mat. So I'm going to send it to my printer here that's already connected to my computer. This is very important. It says add bleed. Turn that off. So I had done this already, so this had more than one name on it. But there it is, the cardstock printed on my computer, stuck onto a mat. And I'm going to go to the materials when it shows up, and I'm going to pick medium cardstock. I don't know what weight this cardstock is, but I am going to go with more pressure because my blade is not brand new and it is cardstock. Now I love this part. So get it underneath those little cleats on the side and push the in and out button, and it does some very important things, and you wait for it to do those things. It's actually talking to the computer. Then you push the Cricut and it goes in and out, the same as always. But when you do a print to cut, it has this black line around it, and the machine has that light so that the optical viewer can find these edges, so that if you don't get it completely straight on the paper, it doesn't matter. It knows where it needs to cut because it's using that black line to cut instead of just cutting automatically onto it. So then it cuts out each of these rectangle place cards, and they're all exactly the same size. You know, if I was cutting them by hand, they would all be about the same size, but these are all exactly the same size. And it's just nice to be consistent. So then when it comes back out, you got to push the in and out button again. And this isn't very sticky anymore, but typically you would bend the back away. But look, there's the 4. Oh wait, here's Alyssa. She jumped ship. There you go. 13 people that are going to be at our bridal luncheon. We also made them a little emergency kit with this nice saying from Eleanor Roosevelt on it. And look, we used some white flowers that we purchased, but all of the flowers in the little vase came from the yards. And I made this welcome sign. I painted the flowers, but then I cut vinyl to make the words on the sign for the big welcome sign. Thanks for watching. I hope that's useful to you if you have a Cricut or you're thinking about getting a Cricut, that you understand what they can do and how to use them better. I enjoy it, maybe too much, but who's to judge, right? I want you to remember that if anyone lacks wisdom, he should ask God, who gives generously without finding fault, and it will be given to him. Thanks for watching. See you next time.